Welcome to Hello Port Hueneme. I'm your host Tom Dunn, and I'm with Laura. Welcome, Laura.
Welcome. Thank you.
We're doing the City Council review of June 5th, and we have a number of topics that we're going to discuss. And it was a long but productive meeting, so let's get started.
Right.
And talk about we were dealing with the budget and the cannabis, but we have some other items.
Right. We had a real good turnout last night.
50 plus
so
people.
we're here the morning after, and hopefully our minds are fresh on what was covered. But yes, it was a good turnout last night. A lot of public engagement, people interested in the issues on the agenda, and so we had a number of people participate in the public comment section.
The first item that was presented at the City Council meeting was the President of the Port Hueneme Police Officers Association, Officer Tapia. And you want to talk about what he spoke about?
Sure. What I heard Officer Tapia present was concerns over the city's finances, and as many know or don't know, there was a public presentation of an audit report that the POA had presented a week ago at a community meeting, and that audit report is actually available now on YouTube under POA Port Hueneme. But his concerns were about the fact that the City Council is telling the public that we can't finance parades, we can't afford the beach festival, and there are other activities that we can no longer have because we're in a structural deficit. However, at the same time, he claimed that there are salary increases taking place among city staff that appear to be unjustified. So now that this report has been provided to the public and to the City Council, the question will be, will City Council respond to that report and provide clarification on the status of the city's finances and the question, and respond to the question about staff raises?
Yeah, I believe it is an ongoing negotiation, and I'm sure down the road they will talk about this, and it is a closed session because it does deal with salaries. But as public information becomes available, we will certainly pass it along and keep everybody updated.
Yeah.
Next was a cannabis ordinance was discussed, and it was a final reading of the cannabis ordinance. And there were no major changes from the last time we reported, which was the first cannabis reading, and that once everything is set up, which it should be a public notice on the website very shortly, there will be a 30-day time period when the citizens can look at it and see what it reads and reply on it. But they're looking for it to take effect around the first week of July. That'd be 30 days from yesterday.
Right.
And then after that, that would start the application process where people who want to participate in the cannabis industry will submit a permit, an application to the city for a permit. And by the time all of that is done, and done properly and professionally, certain guidelines must be followed, and it'll be closely monitored by the city, the state, the fire department, and the police department. So it's going to be very professionally done as far as we can see right now. And if things would to go smoothly, they're not sure because they've never done this before the city, but maybe around October they could have a clinic open for people to bring the prescriptions and get medical marijuana. The finance director was next. Would you like to cover what he brought up?
Well, my understanding was he was providing a report on the initial baseline budget, which is a two-year budget, and it precedes the final presentation of the city's budget. one of the issues I had with the presentation, number one, was I could not see the screen. I could not read the numbers, so I think the City Council indicated that a handout of the PowerPoint would be helpful in the future, and to make that handout available to the public so that we could actually have some true transparency and see the real numbers. What I gathered from the presentation was that we are still under a structural deficit. We have a couple of years before that deficit is going to be, will be operating in the red. I think in the, well, I want to say years 18, 19, I'm not sure. Again, I have to look at the numbers. But he did offer some options on non-voter approved alternatives and voter approved alternatives for increasing our revenue base. There wasn't a request to adopt the budget, but there was some feedback for the finance director to go back and try to realign the budget so that the estimates of the forecasts and the estimates of what we bring in and what we actually anticipate will spend are closely matched or more matched and
detailed
and also align with the strategic plan.
Okay. The next issue that was brought up was the outsourcing of the landscaping, and a presentation was made by the fairly new Public Works Director, Don Villafana. And the first presentation he made back in, I think it was April, they had gotten some bids on landscaping. There were questions on both sides of the people who bid and also the city as to it didn't quite line up. And there was some input by various members of the community about what they were looking at. Some who had some landscaping experience, and I did send the city staff some information on what had gone on in Oxnard. They've had big landscaping issues, and I think they looked at some of that, and then they did a second review, and they went much deeper. The department head, Don Villafana, and they looked into the actual cost. Would there be savings of, originally it was projected of $250,000. I heard last night maybe 150, 175, but when he went through and did everything, he found out that there would be a savings of less than $25,000. They had not taken in account everything, and then they still realized that there were some issues they had to deal with. For example, they have to hire somebody just to oversee this, which they had not thought about. And so anyway, it ended up, it would cost them money to outsource. And from my perspective, there were emergency things that weren't even brought into that could make it a big loss, where one of the points made by the presenter was that if there is a emergency or any request, the people who work here will do it right away, and they know about it. They know the past of it. So he said he would greatly benefit the city to keep the loyal workers they have. Okay, next, the Deputy City Manager, Carmen Nichols, reported that there had been, and this has been in the works, where they want to upgrade and improve the video of the City Council meetings, and she mentioned that there had been complaints from viewers and stuff about numerous things: poor quality, poor camera angles, poor audio, and syncing up, and how long did you have to wait before you could see it. So to make a long story short, what they decided to do was, all of these improvements, the City Council has allocated up to $7,500 to upgrade the system. I'm not sure that it would take all that. It could take as little as $1,000 to make minimal changes. That would be a really good upgrade. Or if you want to make it, top flight, they could do whatever they wanted to, up to $7,500. So I'm sure the residents would like to see that, and it would improve, again, the communication between the council and the city if more and more people knew that, hey, when they tuned in, that it would be something that they could not have to fuss with.
Right. So I think her findings revealed that some of the problems could be on the user end. Maybe people don't have enough bandwidth, or their system doesn't allow the broadcast to come through clearly. The other issue was that you can have this technology that will allow the camera to pan in and pan out and focus on the speaker when the individual is speaking, but that you still need somebody to operate that equipment. So that's the gap. That's the question, is who's going to operate that equipment. And there are various options presented, but you still need somebody behind the camera to control the panning of the camera.
Good, yeah, because they're going to be looking at a couple companies that may be able to do that for them. Next was the city manager's report, and they did extend Steve Kinney's contract as the business liaison, looking for ways to help business come to Port Hueneme, and that was focusing on business attraction, how to attract businesses to Port Hueneme, tourism, how to increase the tourism because of our beach, land applications, what land and properties do we have here that can be utilized to the fullest extent, and also getting the cannabis ordinance up and ready to run, and how it will attract businesses, and what the function between them and the city will be. And the other issue brought up was the industrial property sale possibility on Industrial Way in Port Hueneme. You want to talk about that a little bit?
So this item reported on by the city manager was a request for proposal for selling 746 Industrial Way. And this was action requesting the city council to approve the issuance of a request for proposal for the acquisition of that property. One of the comments was that this is just one part of a overall plan to help increase city revenues, that this is not the panacea for resolving our financial crisis, but that it would help. It's one way of helping bolster our budget, and but it's part of a long range goal in bringing in additional revenues to the city. There will be a neighborhood meeting because of the use of the building is going to be for cannabis manufacturing of cannabis products, although there was a comment made that in terms of selling public properties, that public property use would be open to all kinds of businesses, not just cannabis. So because of the nature of the business to be that this building will be used for, it's an ideal location because of the security and the location. But because it does abut certain neighborhoods, that there will be a public meeting, a neighborhood meeting scheduled for residents who live in the area. This will happen on June 12th at 5:30 at Ocean Pavilion. So if you're interested in hearing more about the use of that building, please attend.
And the last thing that was discussed was that I think the city manager and another person, I can't remember who it was, didn't write it down, had a meeting with the Lynn Krieger, who is overlooks the beach, the harbor, and the beach area, and Kristen Dacus, who is the port administrator, and they had a meeting where they were able to talk to them pretty frankly and try to get some answers about the situation we have with the replenishment of the sand. And what they found out was there's ways you need to approach it. It hasn't worked too well in the past, so the staff said they need to change their direction a little bit. And then coming up this Friday at the Chamber of Commerce, Mayor Fig and the new county representative Kelly Long are going to be there for like a meet and greet.
Great.
And they'll discuss this, and I think Representative Long will be somebody who hopefully can run the ball for us with Lynn and Kristen, and let them know how important it is to the city that we get the right amount of sand, so we don't have to continually having the beach go back and forth, which in the long run curtails economic development down there. So look forward to that, and we will have a special presentation on Hello Port Hueneme of the Chamber of Commerce meeting this Friday. So thank you, Laura.
Thank
that
you,
was
Tom.
a 3.5-hour meeting, I think, or something like that.
It was a long meeting.
And we covered a lot, and the council meetings are getting very, very well run, and a lot of stuff is coming up and being discussed, and solutions are, being
We're making good progress.
Yeah. So thank all of you for watching this review, and we will see you in 2 weeks for the next City Council review.